What's up everybody, welcome to another V2 Lab video. Today's video is on sponsorships. This video is about how to get a sponsorship for your person, for your brand, for your car. Primarily this is going to be centered around car stuff, but it's applicable to anything. I guess you can apply this to whatever kind of sponsorship you're trying to get, but it's primarily for car guys that are trying to get their car sponsored. The suggestion to make this video came from Kris from Silver Suspension. Shout out to him. This was a super good idea. I had a bunch of friends that were already asking kind of about sponsorship stuff because the new seasons are going to start and all that stuff, like new show season, new race season, all of that. And so I want to encompass everything that I know in this video and then get a little bit of help from some of my friends in the industry. So first things first, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. You're trying to get sponsored, and who do you want to be sponsored by? What companies are you targeting? What do you need? What can they do for you? All of those things, and that's kind of how you got to put this all together. Towards the end of this video, I'll kind of go over like sponsorship proposals and kind of what you need to do, but we got to get through the first parts of this and figure out, how you're going to go about this. The first question you need to ask is, who do you want to be sponsored by? What company are you interested in, and who are you going to approach for sponsorship? The second kind of question that needs to go along with that is, what do you need from that company? What product, what money, what merchandise, what is it that you need from that company, and what do you have to offer in exchange for that? The big part of this is like when you're approaching a company for sponsorship, essentially you need to have more to offer them than they have to offer you. You're looking for a free product, you have to present something to them that's going to make them, you're going to entice them into giving you a product or giving you a service or whatever it is. So you need to come bring more to the table than they have to offer. And that sounds kind of backwards because you're probably thinking to yourself, well, if I have more to offer to them, they should already be giving me the product, or people should be knocking down my door. Well, yeah, I mean, if you've got that much to offer, chances are people are going to be approaching you for sponsorships. But this is not for those people. This is for the people that are looking for new stuff, new sponsorships, trying to build their name in the industry, stuff along those lines. Something like a SEMA build coming up or a race series coming up. Whatever it may be, you guys just have to figure out what you're bringing to the table and what you're going to present them in order to get back a product, service, or whatever you're looking for. Kind of the next part of that is, do you already own a product from this brand? How much do you know about this brand? How much do you know about these products? Are you going to be a good brand ambassador? Are you going to be able to work with the product, show people the product, talk about the product when you're asked about the product? Basically, it doesn't make sense for someone to give you a free product and you know nothing about it other than the fact that you wanted something for free. That's just not how this works. You know what I mean? You have to be like a super good product specialist almost in what it is that you're selling. You have to be almost a salesman. I have suspension on my car. I present to people like, hey, when they ask, this is suspension, this is what I have, this is how it works. This is what I recommend, and this is what I'm using in my day-to-day driving, drifting, racing, whatever. That's kind of where that goes. The next part to that is, how big of a billboard do you have? How much can you present, or what's the audience that you can present this product to on a mass scale? How big is your billboard? And what I mean by billboard is like, what's your reach? Either social media, what's your presence in person? Where are you going to be? What kind of just what kind of like emphasis on the product, like how far out is your advertising or your commercial of yourself going to be? What's your reach and impressions on social media? What's your biggest account? Are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, whatever it may be? What's your reach? What's your analytics? How can you break that down? If you don't know those numbers, you need to switch your pages over to like brand or product or service or whatever it is on the services that offer it, and then start collecting your analytical data, because you need to break it down and you need to be able to tell people, hey, this is what my impressions are per post, this is what my reach is per post. And if you don't know the difference between the two, I suggest really like diving deep into that stuff. But long story short, impressions are how many times the post is viewed. Reach is how many people saw the post. So it's two different things. The reach may be way lower than the impressions. And it's the same thing. If you've seen like posts keep popping up on your page, there might not be that many people that are seeing it, but you may have seen it 5 times. So you add to the number of impressions, although the reach is only 1. So that's how that works. And so you need to like really figure out how to like get those numbers to look good on paper. And that's why sometimes you'll always hear people say, oh, these are our impressions, and they don't say what their reach is, because the number of impressions looks better than the number of reach. But a lot of companies now are starting to ask for both. They want to know more about the details of what your billboard is, how many people are seeing your products, how many people are seeing your brand, your personal brand. And so they can use that to see like how far out their stuff is going to be advertised, which is really important. I mean, literally, that's the point of sponsorship. It's an advertising sponsorship. So continuing on the billboard, you're going to have to figure out if they're going to want you to run stickers, if you're going to need to demonstrate the products at shows, events, where it's going to be, if they want you to wear t-shirts, how whatever they're asking for, like included in. And then you're going to have to provide media, like some sort of pictures, some sort of video, some sort of everything, so that they, in turn, the people you're asking for sponsorship, are getting advertising material out of what you're getting from them. Like, you have to trade advertising material for the product, which is essentially all of this is coming back down to. It's just a marketing trade. You're offering advertising and support, and they're offering a product in return, or a service, either or, whatever it may be. But yeah, that's, you really got to figure out how it's going to work, how it's going to tie into what you got going on. I guess after that, it really starts to break down into what you're trying to do on your proposal. The proposal I want to get into a little bit deeper. It's a little crazier, I think. Like, this is kind of what I really want to explain, and this is what all of this has made sense, like, kind of leading up to. The proposal is what you kind of need, the proposal is what you need to send out to a client or a sponsorship, like, the person you're trying to get sponsorship from. This is what you need to take this part serious. So getting into the proposal stuff, the first page is your cover photo, or your cover page. It basically needs to have your title, who you are, name, some basic contact information at the bottom, and that's the first part of it. I recommend doing a nice picture. I recommend building your proposals in Photoshop, spending the effort, and then PDFing them together, which is like, you save every page as a PDF, and then you put it together in Acrobat. If you don't do it, I would recommend hiring a graphic designer and get somebody on board that really understands how to present this really well, and it'll look better. Here on screen is a proposal I had done for Tyson, who's one of my buddies. It's just the cover page, get his car looking good. It's so that we could send it out. I'm not going to include all the pages because, some of the information is obviously personal and all that stuff. But I really wanted to just explain kind of as we're going along. The second page needs to be your introduction. It needs to have information about who you are, a little history about yourself, and then it kind of needs to go from there into your letter of intent, which is basically what you need to start selling yourself, like, and asking, basically you kind of sell yourself, and then you kind of ask for the stuff that you're looking for in return, or how the company fits what you're doing. That way it's like, you're like, hey, I'm looking for these wheels, your wheels are really good in drifting. Well, I'm drifting, so I'm going to run this series 2 and 2 together. That's what needs to happen. So, like, you kind of give a little bit of that. I would recommend looking up a bunch of different letters of intent, and then, the introductions to sponsorships, a little bit of bios, breaking this down. The more you research, the better the information looks, the better it's presented, the better you're going to look. Next up needs to be a page dedicated to where the product is going to be shown, displayed, or how it's going to be marketed. If you're doing your car, you need to have a picture of your car, and you have arrows pointing at everything and showing people what's what. And then, kind of in smaller sections or whatever, if you want, post pictures from other events and other things that your car has been to, or you've been to, or whatever it is. You just need to break it down so that it shows that people know that you're out in the public showing off their product or their merch. Again, you're a salesman, you're a walking advertisement once you become sponsored by someone. If the car isn't built yet and you're doing renders, that's also something you can include in this. If you need to do renders of a car for SEMA or a build or something that you're doing, typically speaking, people don't sponsor on renders, but if you've already got a long-term running relationship or your name is in the industry already after you've done other proposals, sponsorships, and stuff like that, it's not too bad. It'll help. Renders really do sell stuff, especially if you can show somebody what you're building and what you've done, and you've got the accolades and awards and reputation to back it up, which leads into the next section, the awards page. Awards, recognition, super important. Put down what you got going on. And if you don't have awards, then talk about your social media, like reach, impressions, and all that other stuff that we talked about. Show other pages, so show things that you've, like, if you're sponsored by other companies or whatever, and like you can show how much your picture has been posted and the type of likes that it gets and the reach that it gets. Companies will still take into account that the other people are advertising their product indirectly or directly. It's just a matter of being on the internet and showing off that you have an audience, you have people looking at you, the number of eyes that are on you. And speaking on social media impressions and reach, make sure you include screenshots of your analytics. I mean, there are ways to pump up your numbers. If you really need to post really heavily for a week, get your numbers to look really good, screenshot those numbers. That way they sell better. You know, you have your numbers on the screen, and if you can sell them and they look really good and presentable to a sponsor, it's gonna look good. You know what I mean? You have to make people believe what you got going on. If you've got 50,000 followers and all your pictures have 30 likes, it's not gonna sell anybody. Everybody's gonna assume you have fake followers. Your engagement's dead. So you really need to put effort into like building your brand and social stuff. There are 100 other kids or 1,000 other kids with more followers, more subscribers, more of a social media billboard than you are, but they don't know how to present themselves. This is where you're putting the work in now to get your numbers and your brand in front of other people in a better looking format than them. Also, don't be afraid to ask for shout outs from friends. If you've got a buddy with a lot of followers, hey, throw my picture up. I need a little help. That way I can use these numbers to, try and get sponsorship. So it looks good. It's one of those things. The next part of that, and I really recommend you adding this into your analytics, kind of at the bottom, is explaining the other followers that your other sponsors have, like the reach that your other sponsors have. That way, if you're included in their stuff, that's also included. So like if you're sponsored by V2 Lab, they have 24,000 followers, you add 24,000 followers to your thing to show that there's also the opportunity of being seen by that page too. That really helps. Just add that in there, add that at the bottom. That'll kind of separate it out, but just so it's at the, after you broke down your normal reach and all that other stuff, and you include pictures and screenshots of like the likes that you get and stuff like that, your likes, your analytics, all that stuff, break that down at the bottom. I think that'll really help and just make it all tie it together and look really. The next page that I highly recommend is your list of events that you're going to be at, your schedule. Show people where your product is guaranteed going to be at. That way your advertising billboard, you're going to be in front of other people in new places or whatever at shows. Here's the breakdown. January 1st, I'll be here. January 3rd, I'll be here. January 5th, I'll be here. You don't have to be that consistent like every other day, but you know what I mean? Like, your calendar has to exist, and you have to be able to show the people that are giving you a product that they're being seen. The last page should be either a picture of yourself or a picture of your car or whatever, and then it should have all of your contact information, what's best, and be sure to pay attention to your emails, your DMs, and everything else. That's super important. Your sponsors want to be able to communicate with you on an easy, first name, straight to the point basis. Make sure you don't just let your email sit for 3 or 4 days, because some other dude that's wanting it more than you will slide in there and get your spot. So pay attention. Make sure your contact information is up to date. Make it nice. It's the last page should almost come across like a business card. So focus on that. And then that's it. I mean, that closes it all out. And before I close this video out, here are some tips from some of my really good industry buddies, and hope they can help you too.
What's everybody? Mike here, Michael here. What do you think about sponsorships? No, we're just playing around, Rabbi. Thank you for the invite. And I just wanted to quickly talk to you and maybe drop a quick jewel. What I'm going to talk about in the 2 minutes that Rabbi's asked me to kind of wrap things up in is control your circle of influence. Right, Michael?
Yes.
Good. What I mean by that is I will quickly talk. A lot of people ask me how did I break into the auto industry, and I've been in this industry over 8 years at this point. 8 years before that, I was hosting free car mo shows, free car meets. I had donated countless hours on different internet forums. I actually started a forum with a friend, CLOC, Southeastern Lectures Owners Club. So I was doing all these things out of my free time. And what it did was obviously created trustworthiness with people. They believed what I was buying, what I was doing. I wasn't sponsored back then. I'd heard about it, but I never asked for a sponsorship. I just kind of, got into that after. So that's the first thing I would say. You want to develop your personal brand, because if you're asking for a company for partial sponsorship, for something like discount or something free, who are you, right? How do you separate yourself from the millions and millions of other people out there? I don't think a lot of you are really doing that. You think just because you have a few thousand followers on Instagram, where engagement is low anyway, that's important. No, it's about, you're supposed to go to shows and events. That's nothing extra. You're supposed to put a sticker in the car. That's nothing extra. What are you doing above and beyond where people can say, hey, I've seen that guy, or know that guy. Or, when somebody asks around, hey, do you know this guy? Actually, yes, I do. So it takes time. It's not overnight. But I think that's what really separates people that develop relationships with these companies, because they've already put the investment in themselves. And it's going to take money that you got to spend yourself. It's a lot easier to work with somebody and start a relationship when you've seen they've spent thousands of dollars on their car over years, not just one car, but over years. And like, okay, I see what this person has done, what this girl has done, compared to somebody that literally buys a car, whether it's new or old, which means honestly it's pretty irrelevant, and you're just asking for a sponsorship. And it's like, well, you know, who are you? You know, how are you any different than other people that just send a random sponsorship? So that's my words of advice right now. You know, to build your brand and then develop that relationship with the company. And maybe first you need to spend some money or you know, promote the company. If you truly are vested into it, then first asking for something for free, because businesses are in business to make money, and most of them are doing fine, right? So those are my words for advice. Michael, say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hopefully these small words of advice can help a couple of you. I'm available. You know my Instagram. You know my Facebook. Just reach out if you got any more questions. Ravi, great conversation that we're having, and thank you so much for including me.
I think sponsorship is one of the funniest things in the automotive industry right now, because there are so many companies giving out so many like fake sponsorships, which is just a way to sell their product. But then there's also a lot of companies leveraging sponsorship and social media influencers to really build beneficial brand relationships that, you know, grow both the influencers platform and the brands and the brand. So, you know, a couple of the things that we look for in our, you know, higher tier sponsorship program. You know, one, we always seek to work with professional drivers. That's just something where, you know, if you're a professional and we're professionals, it makes the relationship a lot easier. That's not to say that you can't, you know, achieve a sponsorship if you don't actively compete in motorsports, though. When we work with influencers or we work with, you know, kind of larger individuals on a sponsorship type deal, we really look for people that encapsulate, you know, our brand's goals and ideas and values and stuff. And not only someone with a big reach, but someone that we feel really shares in those core values that we, you know, seek to uphold here. So, you know, someone that can really build a long-term relationship with us is definitely something that we, you know, really look for. What you guys can do, you know, when you're out seeking sponsorships, have a really, really good pitch, like a really good deck or proposal or something. Have something that, you know, kind of explains who you are in addition to that. Don't just say like, hey, I have a cool car, but say like, hey, I have a cool car and also I do X, Y, and Z. And, you know, be personal and be engaging. You know, send your deck and then set up a phone call. Really try to, you know, encapsulate who you are and, you know, why it would be a mutually beneficial relationship. Sponsorship's not a one-way street. It's something that really, really needs to be beneficial to both parties. So, you know, we give you a cool set of wheels, you promote us, but in addition to that, you need to be a brand advocate for us. You need to, you know, always pitch our product as, you know, kind of being the correct product for the application. So there's obviously a lot more to sponsorship. I don't have too much time to fit it all in here, but hopefully that information helps you guys in your quest to, you know, work with companies.
All right, so sorry, I'm just getting back to this. So, yeah, the amount of sponsorship emails that we get on the daily, whether it's, you know, social media, email, we had to make our own sponsorship email just to be able to get through it. It's actually honestly insane. It's like I almost have to hire a full-time person, and we're a pretty small company still. So there's people that email in that are literally just expecting something for free. They will straight up say they have no money and they just want to be sponsored by us so that way they can have the product that they want. It goes from there. You know, some people have a really well-written proposal, something that, you know, is actually gets our attention and seems promising, and then we ask for links to their social media and they're like, oh, I just started. They have 400 followers on Instagram, 12 subscribers on YouTube, nothing that really has any benefit to us. They're just, you know, slightly more educated on what they should be doing to get sponsored. And then there's other times where we get kind of a half-assed email from someone that actually is worth it and will work and be beneficial for the company. And I think a big misconception with the sponsorship stuff is people consider it just to be a discount, but it's a job. It's a position that you need to be at to, you know, help promote the brand and help give us something marketing wise or exposure, get more people to buy the product, get honest reviews out there, even maybe not direct, you know, consumption of the product or purchasing of the product, but we need to get something back in return for it. And I think that that's kind of something that people don't understand. They think it's just you get shit for free and you get to do whatever you want with it, and you make one shout out on Instagram or one mention in a video, something like that. But realistically, it should be a partnership, because the more that you do for the company, the more, you know, the company is going to work with you and reach out, especially with the volume of incorrect and terrible sponsorship proposals that are out there. The more quality and, you know, willing to work with the company that you are, the more that they're going to work with you.
Tip number 1 for people seeking sponsorships. Make sure to do your research on the proper people to reach out to at that brand. Don't expect someone to take you seriously if you're commenting on an Instagram post or Facebook post asking for a sponsorship through there. Do your research and contact the people at that company the proper way. That'd be phone call, email, whichever that company prefers. Tip number 2 is something super simple that people overlook all the time. Use spell check. There's been so many times that I've checked emails where the word sponsorship is completely misspelled. If you're looking for sponsorship, please just make sure that the word is actually spelled correctly. Tip number 3 is to have a plan for the sponsorship. Don't just reach out and say, hey, give me free parts or a discount on parts. I'll put stickers on my car and show up to car meets. Come up with a plan that will actually benefit both parties. This can be content creation, unique marketing ideas. The world is yours when it comes to this. Just make sure it's something that stands out, is different, and will get people's attention. Not the standard, I'll put stickers on my car.
All right, hope this video helped you guys, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one. See you guys.